Alzheimer's, how to plan for this, the latest research, what the research says, what we can do to deal with this, the resources available.
Claire's been with the Alzheimer's Association like 22 years. She oversees the clinical and support operations for the Northern California and Northern Nevada. By training, she's a clinical social worker.
Dementia is really considered to be that umbrella term, right? Dementia is a collection of symptoms related to that cognitive decline. What's underneath that umbrella is those different types of dementia, those different types of biological changes in the brain that are causing cognitive, behavioral, and psychological symptoms. This type of dementia, as we're talking about it tonight, is not a normal part of aging. As we age, we all get a little forgetful. We've all walked into a room and forgotten why we've walked in there. There's a difference between that and this sort of change in your brain that really impacts your ability to perform your activities of daily living in an independent way. Alzheimer's is the most common cause of dementia, and unfortunately, people can have more than one type of dementia. And while some of these causes can be considered to be reversible, that's usually related to drug or alcohol use or some sort of medical change that can be impacted with a medical treatment. What we're talking about here with Alzheimer's, with vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, frontotemporal dementia, and others are not reversible, which means that over time they will get worse. The symptoms can't improve. We have different types of memory, that long-term memory, the color of the curtains from our first home or our bedroom carpet, all of those things, those are long-term memories. It's our short-term memory. What we had for breakfast this morning, did we take the medication? Did you remember to unplug the curling iron or the hair dryer? That's short-term memory. And that is the memory that disrupts daily life. And that's the memory that's typically impacted early with Alzheimer's disease. Challenges in planning and solving problems. So sort of that challenge in just sort of being able to manage your day-to-day, difficulty performing some of your familiar tasks like going to the grocery store, writing a list and knowing that that's on the list and you got to get it at the store, and confusion with time and place. So sort of getting the loss of sense of time, forgetting doctor's appointments, showing up on the wrong day. You think the doctor's appointment is on this day, and even if you're looking at a calendar, you're still showing up at the wrong time. Trouble understanding images and spatial relationships. That's a depth perception. Thinking of where you might see a step or even a pattern in the floor. New problems with words in speaking or writing, misplacing things, losing that ability to retrace your steps. Those are the things we do when we can't remember something. If you have ever walked into a room, you ever backed out and think, oh, if I walk back in again, it'll trigger. Not being able to do that, it would be a concern. Decreased or poor judgment. We certainly look at driving as an issue. If you're not recognizing the difference between a red light, a yellow light, and a green light, that can be a concern. And then, of course, we look at withdrawal from social activities and changes in mood and behavior. Again, all new changes. You also want to always think about how we go about getting diagnosed and making sure that if there are some problems that would be causing withdrawal, like depression or anxiety, that you get those treated as well. What impacts our risk? We know that we have what we call non-modifiable risk factors. Those are those things like age, genetics, our race and ethnicity, sex and gender. We can't control those, but research is really looking at a lot of these things on the right side as well, as what may impact our risk, put us at an increased risk. All of these things on this right side are being studied across all angles because we think and believe that a future will involve not just a medication or treatment that could stop or slow the progression, but a combination of also these risk reduction strategies as well. An early diagnosis can have an emotional, social, and medical benefit for you. Not only does it help you to think about making those legal and financial decisions and learning a lot about making sure that you have all of those right things in place to protect yourself, but it allows you to also think about understanding what your symptoms will look like, understanding what treatment options may be available for you. And we've seen that people have had some improved outcomes when they're able to plan properly and really actually be diagnosed with Alzheimer's instead of something else. The diagnostic process is tricky. It's a matter of ruling out other things. There's no one single test. So in order to diagnose someone, they do a history and physical. They will do maybe an MRI or a CAT scan. They'll do a blood test. But what they're looking for is other things that could be causing some of those warning signs, some of those changes in your memory or changes in your mood or behavior. Once they see that there's nothing else that could be causing that cognitive loss, they give a diagnosis based on essentially ruling out anything else. Well, biomarkers or biological markers are changing the game for not just how we will conduct research, because that's happening today, but we're probably a little closer than we've ever been before to some more simple tests in your doctor's office. Probably in the next 3 to 5 years, we could even have a simple blood test that would show whether or not you have the biological marker for Alzheimer's disease, something that could be very accessible to everybody, ensuring that people could get an accurate diagnosis. What that can help us to do is what we call modernizing the diagnosis, where we're moving from this area of history and cognition to where we actually can see potentially the biomarkers of someone, maybe even before they become symptomatic with cognitive changes. And I know it sounds exciting and promising. We're not quite there yet, but we are making progress towards risk reduction and more effective treatments. These medications in the gray box that date back to the mid-90s, those are medications that really just treat the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. They're actually not designed to slow down, modify, stop, or reverse the disease. Rather, they're really just ensuring that there's maybe some relief from some of the symptoms. Well, the game changed in 2021 when, for the first time, we had a target that looked at amyloid, one of the hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease, that buildup of beta amyloid in the brain. And that was called aducanumab, or Aduhelm is the brand name. Just earlier this year in 2023, the FDA approved its second amyloid-targeted medication called Leqembi, or lecanemab. And what this drug is actually showing to do is slowing down disease progression by targeting that underlying biology. This is only for Alzheimer's disease because, of course, it's targeting that biology that makes Alzheimer's different from other types of dementia. But there's also more than 700 clinical trials going on in Alzheimer's, Lewy body dementia, vascular dementia, frontotemporal dementia, all focused on helping us get to that endpoint of understanding how we can actually maybe stop the progression before it impacts people's cognitive abilities. And we know that up to 40% of dementia cases could be prevented or delayed by targeting all the fun stuff, right? Like eating right, exercising, maintaining some cognitive and social stimulation. All those ultra-processed foods could have an impact on your risk of developing dementia. So consuming more than 20% of your daily caloric intake of your regular diet, where this would be part of your regular diet, led to a 28% faster decline in global cognitive scores. So what's an ultra-processed food? High in calories or sugar, really low in protein and fiber. It's a lot of those canned goods, those packaged goods. It's never too late, right, to incorporate one or two of these healthy actions today that could prevent cognitive decline as you age. And people in this study were put into either the aerobic exercise arm or the stretching and balance arm. So they were either told to do the aerobic or they were told to do the strength and balance. And after 12 months, study participants with mild cognitive impairment in both groups showed no cognitive decline. When you think about older adults, the ability to be able to tailor exercise could be very beneficial if someone has other medical issues. If you have high blood pressure, you need to treat your blood pressure. There were 2 arms in this trial, people that were kept at what was then considered normal blood pressure at 140 systolic versus the intensive treatment, which was lowering that blood pressure to 120 systolic, which, no coincidence, is now considered to be normal blood pressure. Those in the intensive treatment had a 19% reduced risk for mild cognitive impairment, a 17% reduced risk for dementia, and 15% when you looked at both together. We know that if we could develop a treatment by 2025 that could delay the onset by 5 years, look how many people by 2050 would not develop Alzheimer's. We are here to help. Our 24-hour helpline is available 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We have educational programs like this, support groups, places for you to go and meet with other caregivers or people living with dementia, and all of our easy ways to find us here.
Follow our Gilfix Law YouTube channel for more content like this. We want to empower and educate you. We love to get the chance to serve you.